"Grandma, please don't go back home." Those were the first words my grandson Liam said as I stepped off the bus that afternoon. He ran straight into my arms, breathing hard, his little hands clutching my coat as if the world depended on it. I frowned, brushing the hair from his forehead. "Sweetheart, what are you talking about? I've only been gone a week." But he didn't answer. His eyes darted nervously toward the house across the street, my daughter Nora's house, my home. Something about his expression sent a chill through me. I had just returned from visiting an old friend out of town. The trip was supposed to be peaceful, a little escape after months of tension with Nora. She had been distant lately, secretive, snapping at me for small things, but she was my only child. I thought maybe I was just overthinking. Until Liam said those words. "Grandma," he whispered again, glancing toward the window where the curtains moved slightly. "Please don't go inside." Mom's different. Different. The way he said it made my heart tighten. I tried to stay calm. "Liam, honey, your mom loves you, and she loves me too. Maybe she's just having a hard time." But he shook his head. "No, Grandma. You don't understand. She told someone on the phone that once you came back, she was going to take care of everything." I froze. The air suddenly felt heavier. Take care of everything? What did that mean? Before I could ask, the front door swung open. Nora stood there, arms crossed, a bright smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Mom," she said sweetly, "you're back early. We weren't expecting you until tomorrow." Her voice was smooth, too smooth. I glanced down at Liam, who immediately hid behind me. Something was wrong, I could feel it. I forced a smile and walked toward the porch. Well, plans changed. I missed home. "Of course," she said, stepping aside to let me in. "Come inside, I've got dinner waiting." But as I crossed the threshold, a strange uneasiness crept through me. The house looked the same. Clean, quiet, warm, yet somehow it felt different. As I placed my bag down, I noticed the faint scent of paint and something else, bleach. Liam tugged my sleeve, whispering so softly I almost didn't hear him. "Grandma, don't stay the night, please." And that's when I knew, whatever my daughter was planning, it wasn't something good. The smell of roasted chicken filled the air, but something about it felt staged. Nora never cooked this much, especially not on a weekday. The table was set with our best dishes, the ones we only used for holidays. Candles burned low in crystal holders, flickering against her calm, too-perfect smile. "Sit down, Mom," she said cheerfully. "You must be tired from traveling." I took a seat across from her, but Liam stayed close by my side. He refused to sit, his small fingers gripping my sleeve. "Liam," Nora said sharply, "go wash your hands." He hesitated, looking at me, waiting for my signal. I nodded gently, and he walked off toward the bathroom. When he was gone, Nora leaned forward. "So how was your trip?" I studied her face carefully. Her tone was casual, but her eyes were restless, darting toward the hallway every few seconds, as if checking to see if we were alone. "It was fine," I replied slowly. "Peaceful. But I missed home." Her lips twitched. "Home, huh? That's funny." "Funny?" She smiled, not kindly, but tightly, like a woman rehearsing lines she didn't believe in. "Well, while you were gone, I made some changes around here. You'll see soon enough." A chill crawled down my spine. "Changes?" "Just a few things to make life easier for everyone," she said, slicing into her food with too much force. "You know, streamlining the bills, rearranging some finances, sorting the house documents." "House documents." My heart stuttered. I put my fork down. "What do you mean, streamlining the house?" She shrugged, eyes cold now. "Oh, don't worry, Mom. It's still your house, for now." Before I could respond, Liam returned and slid into the chair next to me, his face pale. I noticed his hands were shaking. He wasn't eating. The room felt colder suddenly. I could hear the faint ticking of the kitchen clock, every second louder than the last. I forced a small laugh, trying to ease the tension. "Well, I suppose I'll see these changes tomorrow." "Tomorrow," Nora echoed with that same unsettling smile. "Yes, you'll see everything tomorrow." As the candles flickered out one by one, I caught Liam's frightened eyes. He mouthed 2 words when his mother turned away. "Don't sleep." My stomach twisted. Something terrible was coming. And the woman who used to call me Mom was no longer the same daughter I'd raised. That night I couldn't sleep. Liam had begged me to stay in his room, and though I tried to reassure him, his eyes were too wide, too scared. After he finally drifted off, I slipped quietly into the hallway. The house was silent. That thick kind of silence that feels alive, as if the walls are listening. I was about to head to the kitchen for a glass of water when I heard it. A whisper. Low, tense, coming from the living room. Nora's voice. I froze. Yes, everything's ready, she was saying. She came back earlier than expected, but that doesn't change the plan. My heart started pounding. The plan? No, she doesn't suspect anything. By tomorrow afternoon, the paperwork will be finalized. After that, she won't have a claim on the house or her account. It'll all be transferred. My knees went weak. I leaned against the wall for support. She paused, then lowered her voice again. Yes, I know it's risky. But once the old house is in my name, we can sell it fast. The market's hot right now. It's the only way. The only way, for who? A man's muffled voice came from the other end of the call, though I couldn't make out the words. Then Nora sighed and said quietly, Don't worry, once it's done, she'll have no choice but to move in with us. I'll handle her care, and her money. I covered my mouth to stop myself from gasping. She wasn't just trying to take my home, she was planning to take control of my life. Footsteps creaked. I slipped back toward the hallway, heart racing, every breath shallow. I barely made it to Liam's room before the light in the living room clicked off. I sat on the edge of his bed, trembling. How could my own daughter do this? Was this the same little girl who used to bring me handmade cards and whisper, I love you, Mommy? I brushed a strand of hair from Liam's forehead and whispered, Sweetheart, you were right. Something's wrong. He stirred slightly, mumbling, Don't let her send you away, Grandma. Send me away. The phrase hit me like a thunderclap. What did she mean by send me away? I stayed awake the rest of the night, every sound in that house making my heart jump. Because now I knew, tomorrow wasn't just about papers or property. It was about survival. Morning came heavy and gray, the kind of sky that pressed down on your shoulders. Nora was already dressed when I came downstairs, her makeup flawless, her smile too bright to be real. Morning, Mom, she said sweetly. I'm heading out for a few errands. Don't wait up for lunch. Errands. The same word she always used when something she didn't want to explain was happening. Where's Liam? I asked. In his room, she said, grabbing her purse. Homework. The front door clicked shut a moment later, and the quiet that followed felt like an invitation. I turned toward her office. Nora never liked me going in there. She said it was private. But today, I didn't care. My hands trembled as I turned the handle, unlocked. The room smelled faintly of perfume and printer ink. Papers covered the desk, bank statements, contracts, envelopes. I scanned each one, trying to make sense of the numbers. Then, in the bottom drawer, I found a thin folder labeled Transfer Authorization. My heart thudded. I opened it. Inside were copies of my signature, not one but several, perfectly forged. I felt dizzy. The papers showed she'd been preparing to move all of my assets, my savings, my home, into her own name, and the witness signatures, all fake. I sank into the chair, my breath coming shallow and fast. The woman who used to braid my hair and bake cookies beside me was now plotting to erase my life. A soft knock startled me. Liam peeked around the door, eyes wide. Grandma, he whispered, did you find it? I looked at him in shock. Find what? He tiptoed in, holding a folded paper. This. I hid it before she could throw it away. It was a letter from my late husband, George, my Nora's father. The edges were torn, the ink faded, but the words were clear. If you ever feel unsafe, Evelyn, remember, our lawyer keeps copies of every document in your name. Don't ever sign what you don't understand. Tears blurred my vision. George had known somehow. I folded the letter, kissed Liam's forehead, and whispered, You did good, my boy. You saved me. Before I could say more, tires crunched outside. Nora was back earlier than expected. Liam's eyes widened. She's not supposed to be here yet. I shoved the forged papers into my sweater and grabbed his hand. Go to your room, I whispered. Lock the door. No matter what happens, stay quiet. Because I had just found the truth. And now I had to survive telling it. The sound of Nora's car door slamming outside made my stomach twist. I hid the folder behind a cushion on the couch and tried to calm my breathing. My palms were slick, my pulse uneven. The front door opened with a sharp click. "Mom?" Nora's voice echoed through the hallway, cheerful but tense. "Where are you?" "In here," I called, forcing a steady tone. She walked in, eyes scanning the room like a hawk. Her smile appeared a second later, but it didn't touch her eyes. "You're up early," she said lightly. "Did you sleep well?" "Not really," I replied. "The house feels different." She tilted her head, pretending confusion. "Different how?" Before I could answer, she noticed something on the desk, the slightly misaligned folder drawer I hadn't fully closed. For a split second, I saw panic flash across her face. "What were you doing in my office, Mom?" Her tone was still calm, but the edge beneath it was sharp enough to cut glass. "I was looking for a pen," I said simply. She didn't believe me. I could see it in her tightened jaw, the way her eyes flicked toward the sofa, toward the place where I'd hidden the documents. Nora walked around me slowly, like a cat circling its prey. "Mom," she said softly, "you've been under a lot of stress lately. Maybe that trip wasn't enough rest. You forget things sometimes, don't you?" My heart sank. I knew that tone, the same one she used when she wanted to make me doubt myself. "I'm fine," I said firmly. But she smiled, stepping closer. "I've been talking to a friend of mine, a doctor. He specializes in memory loss in older adults. He thinks maybe it's time we discussed options, safer living arrangements." "Safer?" I repeated quietly. "You mean a nursing home?" Nora's smile widened just enough to confirm it. "Someplace comfortable. Somewhere you won't have to worry about anything anymore." A chill ran through me. It wasn't about safety, it was about control. I took a step back and met her gaze. "That's not going to happen." For the first time, her voice dropped the sweetness. "Mom, you don't get to decide anymore." The room went still. I could hear the faint ticking of the clock, the hum of the refrigerator, and my own heartbeat hammering in my ears. Then, from upstairs, came the faint creak of a floorboard. Nora's head snapped up. "Was that Liam?" Her eyes narrowed. And I realized, if she found the papers, if she found out what I knew, she'd do anything to silence me. I could feel Nora's suspicion filling the room like smoke. "I'll check on Liam," she said suddenly, already turning toward the stairs. "No!" I blurted out, too fast, too sharp. Her eyes snapped toward me. "Why not?" I forced a smile. "He's taking a nap. He gets cranky when he's tired." She studied me for a long moment. I could almost hear her thoughts turning. Then she smiled again, the kind of smile that never reaches the eyes. "All right, I'll let him rest." When she left the room, I exhaled shakily. I had maybe a few minutes before she grew suspicious again. I rushed to the sofa, grabbed the folder, and tucked it into my purse. Then I hurried upstairs to Liam's room. He was sitting on this floor, clutching his small backpack. His eyes were wide. "Grandma," he whispered. "I heard her." She was talking on the phone again. My heart sank. What did she say? "She said if things didn't go as planned today, she'd make sure you couldn't interfere anymore." I froze. The words felt like ice sliding down my spine. "Sweetheart," I said softly, kneeling in front of him. "We're leaving. Right now." Every instinct told me to stay calm, but my pulse was racing. His lip trembled. "Where will we go?" "To someone who can help," I said firmly. "Your grandpa's lawyer. He'll know what to do." I packed only the essentials, my purse, the letter from George, and the forged papers. Liam grabbed his backpack and his favorite toy car. We slipped down the back stairs. The air outside was cool, heavy with the scent of rain. I could see Nora's car parked by the mailbox. Her shadow moved near the kitchen window. She was still inside, on the phone. "Stay close," I whispered. We crept along the side of the house, through the garden George had built years ago. Every step felt like a risk. One creak, one noise, and it would all be over. We reached the end of the driveway just as thunder rumbled in the distance. Freedom was only a few feet away. Then, a voice. "Mom?" I turned. Nora stood in the doorway, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Where are you going?" For a second, neither of us moved. Rain began to fall, slow and heavy. "I'm going somewhere safe," I said. She laughed, but it was hollow, desperate. You think you can run from me? I held Liam's hand tighter. Watch me. Her smile vanished. If you walk away now, don't expect to come back. I didn't answer. We ran, into the storm, into the unknown, with nothing but hope and the truth in my bag. By the time we reached town, the rain had soaked us to the bone. I flagged down a taxi, clutching Liam close. Howard and Sons Legal, I told the driver, my voice shaking. When we arrived, I half expected the door to be locked, but there it was, still open, the soft yellow light spilling across the wooden floors. Inside sat Mr. Howard, my husband's old lawyer. He looked up in surprise. Mrs. Reed? Good heavens, what's happened? I closed the door behind us. It's Nora. She's trying to take everything. I found forged documents. She's transferring the house and the accounts. His face darkened. Sit down, please. I sank into the chair, pulling the folder from my purse with trembling hands. He read the pages carefully, eyes narrowing. These are good forgeries, he said finally, but there's something she doesn't know. He opened a drawer and took out a thick file stamped Private, George Reed. I was instructed to give you this only if I believed you were in danger. My breath caught. George knew? Mr. Howard nodded. He suspected your daughter's husband was pressuring her. So he set up a trust. The deed, the savings, even your pension, all under a legal protection clause. The property cannot be sold, transferred, or claimed without your written consent in person. Duh. I felt dizzy with relief. So she can't touch anything? Not a cent. He smiled gently. And the moment she tries, it triggers an alert to my office and the authorities. You're safe, Mrs. Reed. For the first time in days, I let out a breath that wasn't laced with fear. Liam reached for my hand. See, Grandma? Grandpa knew she'd try to hurt you. Tears stung my eyes, but I smiled. Yes, sweetheart. He was still protecting us. Mr. Howard leaned forward. I'll file a report and secure your assets immediately. But I suggest you stay somewhere safe tonight. There's a small guest house behind the office. You and the boy can rest there. I nodded, overwhelmed with gratitude. That night, Liam fell asleep quickly, his head resting on my arm. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the rain soften outside. Tomorrow, I would face Nora, not as the frightened mother she thought she could control, but as the woman her father once believed I could be. Because the next time she tried to take what wasn't hers, she would find out that I still had the power to fight back. Morning sunlight spilled through the blinds, soft and golden, but for me, it felt like a spotlight. Today I was done hiding. Mr. Howard had already secured my accounts and sent the fraud alert. Now, Nora's forged paperwork meant nothing. Still, I knew she wouldn't give up easily. Around noon, my phone began to buzz, her name flashing across the screen again and again. I let it ring until the 10th call, then finally answered. Mom! She snapped the moment I spoke, her voice shaking with anger. Where are you? Do you have any idea what you've done? Yes, I said calmly. I protected what your father and I built. You went to the lawyer, didn't you? Her tone cracked, fear mixed with fury. You've ruined everything. I was doing this for us, for you. For me? I repeated quietly. Or for the money? There was a pause, long, heavy. Then she said coldly, You left me no choice. You've always loved everyone else more than me. You gave everything to Dad, to Liam, to everyone except me. Her words cut deep, but they no longer had the power to destroy me. I gave you everything I had, Nora, I said softly. Love, time, sacrifices you never saw. But love doesn't mean control. You can't fix your unhappiness by stealing mine. On the other end, she started crying. Angry tears, painful ones. I just wanted to feel secure, Mom. To not struggle. I sighed. Then you should have asked, not plotted. There was silence again. Then a softer voice. What happens now? I took a deep breath. Now? You face what you've done. The authorities were notified. Not by me, by the system your father put in place. They'll contact you soon, but Nora... Her breathing quickened. You reported me? No, I said. You reported yourself, with your greed. The line went dead. A few minutes later, I saw her car pull into the lawyer's lot. She stepped out, hair disheveled, eyes red. For the first time in years, she looked small, not powerful, not cruel, just broken. I opened the office door. We stood face to face. "Mom," she whispered, voice trembling, "I don't know who I am anymore." I looked at her, my daughter, my mistake, my heartbreak, and said quietly, "Then it's time to find out." Without lies. She didn't answer. Tears filled her eyes, and for the first time, she didn't fight me. But I knew this wasn't the end. Healing never is. Because sometimes, before a family can rebuild, it has to break completely first. The next few days felt like walking through the aftermath of a storm. The authorities came quickly. Mr. Howard handled most of it, guiding me through every form, every phone call. He made sure I never had to face Nora alone. She didn't fight when they arrived. She didn't shout or make excuses. She simply lowered her head and followed them out the door, her eyes hollow, the fire that once burned in her gaze replaced by something I'd never seen before. Regret. Liam watched from the window, clutching my hand. "Will she go to jail, Grandma?" he whispered. I swallowed hard. "Maybe for a while, sweetheart. But sometimes, people need time to understand what they've done before they can become better." He nodded quietly, but I could tell his heart was heavy. I pulled him close and kissed the top of his head. "No matter what happens, you're safe." We both are. Everything was quieter, the kind of quiet that hums with what's been broken. That night, after he fell asleep, I sat alone on the porch. The world smelled of rain and wet earth, the air cool and forgiving. My mind was a mess of love and loss. Part of me was relieved. My home, my freedom, my savings were secure again. But another part ached for the little girl I once knew, the one who used to chase fireflies and fall asleep in my lap. How did we get here? The memories swirled. Her first steps, her laughter, her teenage tears. I'd done everything I could to give her a good life. But sometimes love, when given without boundaries, becomes a kind of poison. Mr. Howard called the next morning. "Mrs. Reed, your assets are all restored. The court may ask for your statement later, but for now, you can rest." Rest. It sounded like such a simple word, yet it felt foreign. "Thank you, Mr. Howard," I said softly. After I hung up, I took out the letter George had written all those years ago, the one Liam had found. I read it again, tracing each word with my fingertips. "If the day ever comes when you must choose between peace and people, choose peace, my love. People can find their way back, but peace must be protected." Tears blurred my eyes, but a small smile followed. He was right. That night, I looked out the window, the house finally quiet, finally mine again. But in my heart, I knew this wasn't truly over. Because forgiveness, like love, takes time, and I wasn't ready to let go, not yet. A month passed. The world didn't look much different. The same sun rose each morning. The same wind brushed through the maple trees, but inside me, everything had changed. Liam and I had settled into a quiet rhythm. He helped me water the garden, we read together in the evenings, and laughter had slowly started to return to the house. But even in the warmth of those new days, there was still an ache, a hollow space where my daughter used to be. One afternoon, as we were cleaning the porch, a car pulled into the driveway. My heart stopped when I saw her, Nora. She stepped out slowly, her posture small, her face pale. She wasn't the same woman who had once stood in this yard full of arrogance and pride. She looked human again. "Mom," she said softly, "can I talk to you?" I hesitated. Liam looked at me, waiting. Then, without a word, I nodded. We sat at the porch table, the same one where everything had begun. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The silence between us was thick with years of hurt. Finally, she whispered, "I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know I'm sorry. Truly sorry." Her voice trembled. They gave me a suspended sentence. I've been working with a counselor, and for the first time in my life, I'm learning what love really means, without taking, without lying. I looked at her, my daughter, my mistake, my miracle. I saw the fear in her eyes, but also something else, humility. "I can't forget what you did," I said gently, "but I can see you're trying. That's enough for today." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I don't deserve even that." I reached across the table and took her hand. None of us deserve grace. That's what makes it grace. For the first time in years, she smiled. Small, broken, but real. When she left that day, I watched her car disappear down the road, feeling something inside me loosen, the last knot of bitterness untied. As the sun dipped low, Liam ran to my side, hugging me tight. "Grandma," he said, "are we okay now?" I smiled through my tears. "Yes, sweetheart, we're finally okay." I looked out across the garden, the golden light touching every leaf. George's voice echoed in my heart. "Choose peace, my love." And for the first time in a long, painful journey, I did. Because forgiveness isn't about forgetting the storm. It's about realizing you survived it,